y'all. Okay, so I've been seeing these stories like all over the internet right now about like their bad ex-boyfriends, their bad ex-husbands, and babes, I'm ready to tell my story. I'm definitely ready to tell my story, for real. Okay, so let's start. Let's just get right into it. Okay, so I was dating this guy. Well, actually, let's start like how we met. Okay, so I was working at this warehouse, and we're not gonna disclose where I worked, but if you know, you know. Like, if you go back and watch my videos, you know I was working at a warehouse that's also an airport. So yeah, you know, if you like know. So I was working there, and like I was working like inside the building, which most people would say is like really lucky to get on your first time working at this job. But I hated my manager. Like, he made me cry. Like, he said I was a spoiled brat. And you know what? Now, you know what? I believe him. And I don't give a damn. Okay? I don't care. I like my own way, period. And anybody knows this knows. So I put in a request to move to a different job, because sometimes when we didn't have no work upstairs, we would go downstairs and help the people out and sorting like the packages and stuff. So when I would go down there and help, like, they would pick me to go down there and help because he didn't like me. He was like, go downstairs. So I went down there, and I would keep like coming back because I continuously needed help, because I guess, you know, their people were quitting or getting fired or whatever. So there was this one manager. She was like, oh my God, you're such a hard worker. I really baffled her, because really the only reason I was working hard was because we weren't doing nothing up there. Like, I was tired. I wanted to move my body. So she ended up stealing me from downstairs, like, permanently. She was like, put an offer in and I'll accept it. I was like, okay, bitch. So I did. Cool. Now it took like a couple weeks, but I finally went down there, and you know, there was this guy that was like the team lead, and I love a guy that's in a leadership role. Like, love it. Chef's kiss. So we like saw each other, and like we didn't say anything, because I'm never gonna talk to nobody first. Like, I'm not that girl. But like, when I first like initially moved down, I hate when people like come up to their car, like when they see me doing a video. Bookie, get in your car. Anywho, so he ended up like walking up to me, and he was like, what's your name? I was like, I don't have a name. And he was like, yeah, you do. So what is it? I was like, I don't know. So he ended up asking like our manager, and like I guess she told him, and then like that day, he was like, hey, Miracle. And I was like, hello. And so we like, that's how like we ended up, I guess, like first meeting. And so he was like, oh, like, you're gonna be here like permanently? I was like, yeah. And so we like really didn't talk like that, because he was like busy, and I didn't know nobody else on the line. So like, when I don't know nobody, I like to scope the scenery out. You feel me? Like, I like to scope the scenery out. I need to know who you are before I get to talk to you, for real. So when I'm like new to places, I'm like real quiet. I don't say nothing. Like, mouth is closed. I just peep like game on what everybody is, how everybody's moving, to see, you know, what type of person you are, what are your motives, how do you interact with your friends. Like, you know, I just need to check it out. And so I was real quiet. So I was bored, because really I'm gonna talk to the person. Like, I love to talk. And so I went to Dollar Tree, and I bought like crosswords and like Sudoku, because I was like, oh, I'll just do this like in my free time. And so like, I think time went by, and I ended up, I hate seeing people like ruin their car. Like, that was so awkward. These people do not know how to drive. But I ended up, like, time had passed by, and we started like talking more and more, and I just used to be cracked up. But people did not want to talk to me down there. Like, I don't get it. I don't know if they were haters or, let me stop, because but they really were. Like, warehouse people really be haters. They either be haters or they be trying to get down on you. Like, it's no really like in between, like, with it, you feel me? So nobody wanted to talk to me. But as soon as they saw me talking to him, they were like, oh, who are you? I know we've been seeing you these past few weeks and we been saying that, but now we want to say something now. And I'm like, whatever, okay. So we ended up talking, and I was like, dang, like, he's actually funny. Okay, cool. But he was like, oh, you know, I know how to cook, and like the food is like the key to my heart. So I was like, oh, really? He was like, yeah. You should come over for Christmas so I can cook for you. I was like, what are you gonna cook? And he was like, breakfast. And I was like, okay, cool. Oh, I forgot to preface this, actually, because it's really, a lot of this stuff is coming back to me now. I was actually dating a guy that I had met upstairs. Like, I had all the booze, like, I had all the booze upstairs, but we were still dating while me and him were like, me and the other guy were being friends. Let me say the main guy in this story, we'll call him Ryan. The other guy doesn't need a name. Like, we'll just call him X. So X, like, we used to be booed up or whatever, because he used to come down too. And I was like, but let me just say, I'm not gonna say that because I don't want to be rude. But you know that you can really tell a guy by their friends, and yeah, we'll just keep it P like that. So Ryan, he was like, oh, that's your boyfriend? I was like, yeah. And so he was like, oh, like, are you guys still together? Like, he was just, you know, he just kept like bringing up, he was like, are you guys still together? I was like, no, not anymore. And at the time, he wasn't with anybody at all. And so I was like, yeah, no, we're not. And he was like, oh, okay, so then you should come like to have breakfast with me for Christmas. And I was like, okay. So I went over there, and he had this dog, and this dog was so cute. Like, dog was adorable. Loved the dog. Loved it. And so, like, he lived with his daddy and his daddy's sister. So he lived with his aunt too. So his daddy was cool at the time. His aunt was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like, she was dirty. Like, messy, unorganized, and dirty is a bad combination. So I was like, well, he cleaned it up at that time, and I was like, okay. So I ate the food was good, played with the dog, like, we was just chilling out. And so we ended up getting together. Like, he asked me out, I said yes. And so, like, this is when you could tell that I was young and dumb. So, babes, tell me why, like, my birthday came up in February, and I was like, I'm ready to get out of Memphis. Like, I'm finna move. This is when you guys saw me move to Florida. When I moved, I literally went down there for a job interview, didn't get the job, and ended up getting so many calls on the, like during the process of me being there, because I was only supposed to be there for one day, but then they were snowed in Memphis, so I had to stay there for an additional week. So I was applying to job, getting job interviews, actually got a job that I thought would be great, ended up moving down there. So I was gonna move by myself, like, I was gonna live independently. And he was like, no, I don't want to live without you. We've only been together for 2 months. Now that I think about it, we've only been together 2 months. Why did I say yes? Why? So I had my own money. Like, I was straight. You know, I was good, Bookie. And so because it was tax season, like, I had my tax money. I was good. And so I had a car, so I think I was straight. So keep in mind, these are when the lies are starting to happen. Let me drop a couple gems on you. I told y'all that he lived with his daddy. His daddy had what's that thing called? Like, it's like a Chevrolet, but it's one of them old, like, Chevrolet cars. It was like, anywho, it was like navy blue or whatever. And so he gonna say that he put bulletproof windows on his car. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when I say that. He put bulletproof windows on them cars. Then he said that he had like this Jordan collection. I did peep game that he did have a little shoe collection, so that was believable. But then he also said, I want you to keep all these things in mind, that he said he had $10,000 worth of guns. And I was like, why? He's like, oh, you know, I'm a collector. I'm that guy. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. So we ended up moving down there. I had a job. He was still figuring out the job situation. We found an apartment. We moved in. We paid. I was responsible for paying like the apartment fees, and he was responsible for furniture. I paid my dues, right? And he said he could pay for his own. So we went to Haverty's. If you know Haverty's is so expensive. So we ended up buying like a couch, a bed, like dressers, like a whole bedding set, the couch, the TV, all that. Okay. And so we ended up bringing the dog too. Now, he said that he had money saved up, and that's how he was able to afford this. He said that he had money like saved in like a cash deposit box somewhere in Tennessee, somewhere in the country. So I was like, okay, cool. Me thinking that, I'm like, okay, if anything like pops off, like I can handle my own. But at this time I wasn't really that, like, I was independent, but I was more, I need a man to do anything, you know. I can rely on a man. Now you can pay me. So then we move on, and you know, things are going good. I'm like, oh my God, I'm living with my boo. It's so good. I wake up, I see him. He cooks all the time. He cooked all the time, y'all. Oh my God. We used to just make stuff. Like, even when we were like living back in Memphis and he was in his daddy house, he would just cook all the time. Like, we would meal prep. He would bring food for me. Loved it. That was like, oh. It. Okay, so he would like help, like he would want me to help him cook, and I was like, okay. So it was like the little assistant, like Gordon Ramsay and Christina type thing. Yeah. Okay, so then I'm working this job. Keep in mind, I'm going to community college. I'm working at this job at the senior living, and I'm also working at Starbucks. But this job, this is a side story. This job, I ended up getting fired 12 times that day. I'm telling you, over 10 times. The lady had dementia, so she would forget, and she'd be like, you're fired. Then as soon as I'm about to leave, where are you going? Come back. You're gonna leave me here helpless? She would call her daughter. Her daughter was like, I think she's okay, Mom. She sounds like a good person. She's like, I don't understand. She thought that I was from another country. She was like, where are you from? I was like, Tennessee. She's like, no, but where are you really from? I was like, Tennessee. And she was like, no, but what country? I'm like, babes, the U.S., the United States of America, baby. Come on. And then she gonna say, well, all my other people were Filipino. Do I look Filipino? No, I'm black. I'm not from Africa. That's what you want to say. She's like, but you are from Africa. I'm dead, I'm alive. Because wait. Her daughter was like, she's from the country. Like, can't you hear her accent? Like, she's from the South. She gonna call my manager. My manager said, I hear no accent. She's like, so everybody's lying. So nobody hears it. I'm like, lady. So I ended up getting fired. And so I was working, and like I said, I was working at Starbucks, and I moved to a patient transporter job at a hospital. I loved this hospital. I would go there as a patient in Florida. Like, when I moved back, I would go there as a patient, and I'm definitely working there, period, as a tech, because yeah, I got the experience now, bookie. So yeah, I was doing that. So I was working 2 jobs and going to school. He was like doing all these like different jobs. Like, one of these jobs, okay, I even did this too. Door-to-door sales is like really popular in Florida, and so I keep checking the time because I'm really only filming this because I'm waiting for my this restaurant to open up because I'm hungry and I really want it. So it was like door-to-door sales. I was selling like window panes and roofing and all that. I don't know what he was selling, babes, but he would go in the van, just like I would go in the van, but we were in two different companies, and I had quit that job because, babes, it was too hot to be walking around door-to-door sales in Florida in the outfit, in a uniform. No, ma'am. So, and I ended up getting paid. He said he worked there for 2 weeks, and it would be like 16-hour days, and he never got paid. He said he went up to the job, and you know what they told him? We're not paying you. And you know what he did? He gonna say, yeah, I held up a gun in there and was like, give me my money. And they gave him $300. Okay. A little while later, let me just tell you the moment, though, this is the moment where I knew I had messed up my life. I thought I messed up my entire life, that I was never going to recover from this in this moment. I'm like really embarrassed to tell this story, but because you're going to be like, you're crazy. Every time I tell people this, like, they're like, you're crazy, Bookie. So tell me why I ended up like getting a call from my aunt, and she was like, your sister is going through something and blah blah blah. And she was going through the same thing I was going through, but like way more intense. And so, you know, gang violence is real high in Memphis. Like, it's real easy to get into a gang or be a gang girl, or, you know, be a gangster boyfriend and all that. But like, Bookie, you're too young for that, Bookie. So she's like, what do you want me to do? I was like, I asked her, what do you want me to do? And he was sitting on the couch right next to me, and I'm like, Bookie, what do you want me to do? She's like, I want you to have your sisters live with you. I said, no. I have a 700 square foot apartment, 1 bedroom. Where they gonna sleep on the couch, Boogie? No. I was only 20. And I'm at 23 in my big age. I still can't raise no kids. No. So I said no. And he's listening. As soon as I get off the phone, he's like, I'm gonna make some calls. He made some calls. Y'all, he gonna say he made some calls. And I'm not going deep into the story because it's really not our business for real. Like that type of story, because that's not my business to tell anyway. But I'm gonna tell you what he did. He gonna call some people. He went outside, handled his little business, came, and I followed him outside. He hung up the phone and he was like, oh God, we're in trouble. I was like, okay, let me keep it serious. I was like literally shaking in my boots. I was like, what do you mean, why are we in trouble? He's like, I made a call. They know where we live. I'm like, what do you mean? The gang that I used to sell to knows that I'm alive. I'm like, huh? He's like, I faked my own funeral because there was a situation that went down and I had to run away. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, one day I was selling some and I ended up shaking up the wrong thing. I ended up throwing up the wrong signs to another gang, and I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I faked my funeral so they could think I was dead, and they could stop following me and my family. And I was like, what? Okay. But then at first I didn't believe it until he started getting these calls from his daddy. And his daddy would be like, son, I was on the way out to work and they shut up my car. Impala, that's what I know. It's an Impala. They shut up my Impala. And he was like, oh my God, daddy. And so it was honestly like so dramatic for no reason. He would like have these calls and be saying he got, like, his daddy was getting shot up and his daddy had to duck. Like, what? This ain't no Tubi movie. Like, what are you even talking about? And so then, like, bro, he would say like his daddy is like in trouble and he wanted to move him out. He wanted to come here. He wanted to do all these things. And I'm like, And I thought it was my fault. Why I ended up on that Haverty couple grand couch crying my little butt off. I was crying to the Lord and Savior himself. Please, Lord, this cannot be real. I was like freaking, what's that movie? I was like Dorothy, please take me home, clapping my feet together. Please take me home. This can't be real. No, babes, it was real. I was really in this situation. I did this to myself. And I was like, oh my God, like my family doesn't like that I'm here with this man. And then I can't tell them, because what if they tell me what I don't want to hear? What if they tell me, oh, well, you shouldn't have gone anyway and all this, and we're not going to help you. And then his family doesn't like my family because my family thought that his family was gutter. And they were like, you should not be affiliated with them. And so then, that created drama. And I was like, oh my God, his daddy is already sick and all that. Babes, I know you're sick, but how you working for the government and you ain't paid taxes in 10 years? His daddy told me that. I said, what? You ain't paid taxes in 10 years? I was like, don't you work for the government? He's like, that's the state. I was like, still, like, what the hell? So, like, it was just so stupid. And so, okay, so moving on. I'm probably forgetting a lot of stuff. I ended up, one day he was going to a job interview. I packed all my stuff up and left. Took the dog and everything. Packed my stuff up. Then on my way out, why did I forget my driver's license? I had to run all the way back home. I got a call from him. I blocked him. And I unblocked him to see if he was calling me so I could see if he was on the way to the house. He said he was on the way home. I was like, oh God. Quickly grabbed my ID, my social security stuff, all my stuff, and left. And so then I'm driving back. I stopped in Alabama. Why did this man follow me back? And he's like, he was trying to meet up, and my family was trying to meet up with me and all this stuff. And I was just crying. I was like, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. We met up. My family met me. It was a messy story. I ended up moving back with my family. This is a video I shared with you guys when I was talking about failure and like redirection. Babes, it definitely was a redirection. So we ended up going home, and I chose to go back to my same job because I didn't have no losses with that job. So I went back. He ended up going back too. And so the job that he had was gone. They gave it to somebody else, Bookie. Like, they gave it to somebody else, as they should. And so we were still like talking, and we were having problems at this time. And I remember I was outside his house, and I was sitting there, and he just kept talking, and he kept trying to be like, I can't do this without you. I love you so much. Life isn't worth living without you. And I was just sitting there like, I'm so drained. I feel absolutely drained talking to you. I'm done with this situation. Like, I felt like I was at the bottom of the bottom, and just even saying how I felt was draining. Even listening to him talk was draining, because he was one of those people where it was always something bad happening to him, always something that just, so nobody liked him, or things weren't working out for him. And I was like, why are you like this? And I was just drained, and I was trying to break it off. He wasn't trying to break it off. I wanted to leave. He did not. I was like, okay, whatever. We ended up meeting this is the last time I saw him. We ended up meeting at the park, and I was like, I'm breaking up with you. And my aunt had already gave me a pep talk. I was ready to go in there. We're done, and we're breaking up. He started crying, bawling his eyes out. And I don't know why I always choose this park to have like special conversations with people, but yeah. So he's like bawling his eyes out. Please, I almost killed myself on the way here. I almost jumped in front of an 18-wheeler because I knew that's what you were gonna say. Why do you always have to do that? I'm gonna kill myself without you. Why? My man already prepared me that he was gonna say this, so I was ready. And so I was like, okay, bye. And I had left. I was bawling my eyes out. Tell me why he would like send people out to come talk to me to get me back. one time he was saying that he got into a motorcycle accident and that he was paralyzed. He told one of our coworkers to say that to me. Called me out the blue and everything. You know what I did? I went on his Cash App and I looked at a picture. He was not paralyzed. My aunt went to the grocery store to get something, and we used to Instacart all the time, so I knew he was at the grocery store to Instacart when my aunt showed me this picture of him that she took up, and he looked back. He was like, because he know what my aunt looked like. Oh, him meeting my aunt for the first time, I also forgot to tell you this, was so funny. We met at this Mexican restaurant, and like, he was like looking at her as he was asking, like, she was like, oh, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And just normal questions. And then she was like, so what? Do y'all have sex protected or unprotected? He spit out his drink. I was like, we've never had sex a day in our lives. And so she was like, you're a liar. And I was like, oh my God, where am I? And so, bro, like, she ended up eating, and then she stopped eating, and she was like, oh my bad, I almost cursed. Stop looking at me. It's giving serial killer. You're giving a serial killer vibes. You kill people. I was like, I almost passed out like that at that table. Okay, but anyway, so my aunt, and like, she was like, I told her about it, and she was like, this is when she showed me the picture. I was like, yeah, like, somebody told me he was paralyzed. She was like, he's not paralyzed. I just saw him at Kroger's. Look at the picture. I was like, oh my God. But like, it was like more occasions that he would just get people to say how he's sick, or he's not doing well, or he doesn't work there anymore, or he lost his job, or babe, stop. No, I don't want to do this anymore. And if you're watching this video, because I know he watches my TikTok because you're weird, after like what, 3 years, stop. Please stop. Because this video, yeah, you know it's you, Bookie. Because I really think that he was a manipulator and a pathological liar. No. It was crazy. It was like he was working so hard at that job, and then Ryan all of a sudden just ended up like not being a hard worker anymore. He wasn't determined. He wasn't a leader, and none of that. All that was out the door. It was like he changed. But yeah, guys, like, there's so much more that I could say, but yeah. And I got this tattoo because it reminds me, it's like a wave, because I moved to Florida, and like, I'll never go back to what I used to settle for. Never. All right, you guys have a good Thursday. I'm going to go get my Korean corn dog, so peace out, y'all.